Hi, I'm Eric. This is the Longbox Review comic book podcast, and welcome to the show, a very special episode because I have in my office, in my recording studio / office, if you recognize that chuckle, that I am joined here today in person. So this is the first time we've done this at my living areas.
We once recorded in my living room, like ages and ages ago.
Yes. But thank you for coming today, all the way over from Portland.
I think this studio is awesome, actually. You are very humble about it, but I'm impressed. There's a wall of, are those long boxes or short boxes? No, there's a wall of long boxes.
Long drawer boxes.
Drawer boxes, yes.
Yeah.
For the sophisticated man of the drawer boxes.
For the guy who doesn't want to lift the comic boxes off of each other to get into his collection.
Right.
Yes,
well, that's very smart.
Anyway, welcome, Damian, a.k.a. Sleepy Reader 666 on YouTube. We are here today to talk about something a little different, but it's something that Damian did or contributed to, and he posted about this I saw it on Blue Sky. And so I immediately responded to that once I clicked the link that you provided on there.
Right, I was kind of pushing it.
Yeah,
trying to get some sales for the publisher.
And I clicked the link and I saw that there was a magazine that was celebrating the 100 best superhero comics of all time. This is Die With Your Mask on number 3. It says the magazine about superheroic adventures. And so when I saw that, and then the fact that you contributed to these, or to this magazine, I said to myself, well, now I have to get it. And so I did. And so I have this wonderful, it's a black and white stapled magazine. And it is, I don't know how many pages it is, but, oh wait, no, here I do. I do know because they're numbered. It's like 74 pages, 72 pages. That's what it is.
Jam-packed.
Jam-packed with all these thoughts about the top 100 best superhero comics of all time. And once I got it, Damian, I flipped through it and stuff, read your entries, and I just had to, my first thought was, I got to talk to Damian about this. And then I immediately, right after that, I saw that you had posted on your YouTube channel.
Yes.
An interview with the
editor publisher of it.
Okay. And his name is Colin
Blanchett.
Yes.
He has 2 other co-editors, but I think he's kind of the lead. And he's the publisher, so he takes the financial risks of the financial losses of publishing a fanzine.
I think I may have to reach out to him because I'm really curious about that side of it because magazines are making a comeback.
Right,
comic book magazines. There's
that new Comics. Is it just called Comics?
Comics the magazine. I have it behind me, but I can't reach it because I just got that in my latest shipment.
Yeah.
Tiffany Babb does a bunch of stuff. And I'm forgetting, I'm forgetting the name of the magazine that she's put out.
Is that the one that was interviewed by the infamous George Hanna?
Yes. George has had her and he told me he's having her on again to talk about her new venture, which is it's another comic book based magazine venture.
Okay. I look forward to hearing about that. So to interject, I think we're seeing stuff that went all to the internet now coming back into print, at least in some places. And that's fun for me. And Colin's one of the big guys in that because he's publishing 2 ongoing fanzines. This Die With Your Mask On, which specializes in superheroes, and then a more general comics magazine called Canon. And I think it's not imitating the Comics Journal, but it's definitely inspired by the good old days of the Comics Journal for him.
Well, that's a good segue here because I highlighted some things in the magazine. This is from I'll just call it the foreword, the magazine by Colin. So it says here, in 2024, we published Canon Annual 2024, the top 100, which was devoted to an issue of the Comics Journal, where they ranked the best comics of the 20th century. And that inspired Colin to do his own version.
So I think he's kind of obsessed by these lists. So he did an entire fan magazine about a fanzine from 1999 that listed the top 100 comics of the 20th century. So it was very meta there.
Yeah. Do you have that magazine? that particular issue?
I do somewhere in the mess of my basement. Yeah. I don't have it with me. I'm sorry.
I think I'm going to have to try and order that copy as well, because I'm really curious how you do a magazine.
You can get it at Floating World.
Oh, you can?
You don't have to pay postage.
Oh. I suppose this magazine is also at Floating World.
Yeah, I thought they had sold out because they keep moving it around, but then I found that it was still there.
Oh, okay. Well, we're going to have to take another trip.
Yeah, Floating World is the best place to start for these kinds of magazines.
Okay. Excellent. And so then, like I said, I'm really curious about the Canon one because it's a magazine about a magazine.
That particular issue, yes.
And this is a magazine about other magazines, comic books, in a way, but in a very different. It's about the actual list.
The 100 best superhero stories,
according to the contributors,
right?
Involved.
Which were 11 people.
Okay, that was one of my questions for you. So how many people was it? Because they do list the contributors for the write-ups in the magazine that we have, but I didn't know
there was one or two people who did not do write-ups.
Okay,
or were under pseudomonyms. I'm not sure.
Okay, so
and I failed to do the write-up about the experience. Like at the back, people do write-ups, and I procrastinated, and then it was too late.
Well, maybe you could talk about that a little bit if you want. Why you decided to do it and whatnot.
Well, so for people who are curious about how this jury worked, everybody on their own made a list of what they thought were the top 100 superhero stories. And Colin said, you can define superheroes any way you want. And what gave me a problem is also define like how you pick what constitutes the story. So some people just said the entire run of Jack Kirby and Stan Lee's Fantastic Four.
Yeah. And
then he scored them. So number one was 100 points for each person. So like if everybody had the same number one, it would have gotten 1,100 points. And then he used that to rank it. So it was kind of mathematical once all the lists were in. So many of the things that were on my list did not make the final list, and certainly not in the order that I put them in. But that was fine. I think the list that came out was really good.
Ah, okay. Yeah, he did say in this forward, we reached out to people that we thought would provide good lists because we respected their opinions, their knowledge, and their taste. And so, given now that I know that only 11 people participated in this, and you were one of them, so
Colin knew me from my channel.
Okay, so is that? But had you guys interacted before, or is he just? Okay, he wasn't just a viewer.
We've met in person. He lives in Seattle.
Gotcha.
He comes down to Portland every now and then. So next time he comes, maybe you might want to meet him. And he used to have a YouTube, or he still has a YouTube channel. He used to be more active on YouTube. So we met each other through YouTube and then connected more personally, as often happens.
Yeah.
And he's a very serious sort of comic book person who just loves comics beyond superheroes. And maybe he likes things beyond superheroes more than superheroes. So that's kind of a funny thing about this, because I think a number of the people he picked feel they've grown past superheroes, but they still were involved in the making of this list.
Do you feel that way?
For myself?
Yeah.
No. I think I like genres, and I think superheroes are a fantastic, flexible genre. Mm-hmm. And I think the proof is in the pudding. Look how long they've lasted. Mm-hmm. You know, so many other genres that were around in 1939 are very minor now. You know, take Westerns or something.
Yeah.
But superheroes just keep bouncing back. And I think it's because you can tell some really cool imaginative stories with them.
Yeah, agreed.
In all kinds of directions.
So that's one thing I've always found interesting about fandom is our journey from, I guess I should qualify this by saying maybe people of our age.
Yes.
Where we got into comics, and at that time it was mostly superheroes.
Right. So everybody started with superheroes.
Yeah,
pretty
more
much.
More or less, right?
Maybe a little Archie or something in the mix.
Oh yeah. I mean, Archie was the first comics that I ever read, but I was never a big fan where I needed to read more and keep them.
Right.
But superhero books, yes, I did. And have been doing so now for over 45 years. So, but like I said, we start our journey with superhero books, and as we get older, perhaps, and I started when I was 9.
Right.
9, 10. And as I got older, getting my later teens, especially because, part of it's the timing or the time period at which I was getting older and becoming an adult and my tastes were changing and whatnot. Yeah. But at the same time, DC, for example, was taking all these risks and publishing things like Watchmen and The Dark Knight Returns and, just wonderful, I'll say more adult stories, right?
The 80s was probably the most productive time for, what would you call it, superhero redefining, re-exploring, expanding the superhero palette, so to speak.
Yeah.
Which made it a very exciting time to be a superhero reader.
Exactly. And of course, as I got older and I had more disposable income, also, I could afford to buy more comics. And then once I realized that there were things I was seeing things on the shelves that were not superhero related. And while I didn't actually delve into a lot of them because I preferred to spend most of my money on the superhero stuff still at that time, as I've gotten older, though, I've definitely looked into other genres. And I completely agree, comic books as a medium has this wonderful opportunity to tell stories in all different kinds of genres.
Right.
And those are the kinds of things that I tend to, I still enjoy the superhero stuff, but I tend to want to read more and different kinds of comic books now. And so there's that journey, right? So you're on this journey of superheroes and then maybe some indie stuff. And then maybe you come back to superheroes, but you continue your journey with other genres as well. That's kind of my overgeneralization, but that's my journey. Has your journey been the same?
Well, so not to put Colin down, but I think he thought of me as a more superhero guy than some of his other friends.
That's funny because I would not describe you that way.
But I think because he exists more in that Fantagraphics world, he doesn't really notice all the subgenres that or the, indie comics, that might also be genre, horror or science fiction or, detective things. So I think only a fraction of my reading is superheroes now. When I find a good superhero book, I get really excited about it. And then going through this, I decided I should be really strict about the idea of superheroes because there's a lot of things in the gray area, like the Swamp Thing, let's say. Mm-hmm. Is that a superhero comic? It came out of the world of superhero comics, kind of, but also out of horror comics.
Exactly, yeah.
And they kind of gave him a lot of powers, especially under Alan Moore. And occasionally he's been like on the Justice League Dark and that sort of thing. But I decided to exclude him. But other people didn't. So Swamp Thing is on the list, the official magazine list. But then, like we were talking before we recorded about how we both like the Dan Slott, Michael Allred, Silver Surfer. Is that superhero or is that science fiction? Is it both or not at all superhero? It has a relationship to Doctor Who stories and things.
Right.
And then is Doctor Who a superhero? I think there's a lot of discussion, how do you define superheroes? Like, is James Bond and Sherlock Holmes superheroes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I put Silver Surfer in there, but now that I think about it, I was trying to be strict about it. But there were a few ones that are in the gray area to me that I chose anyway.
Okay.
How do you think about the definition of superhero?
That's tough. In fact, when you were just talking, I thought of a book I just read recently, One for Sorrow.
I'm not familiar.
By Jamie McKelvey.
I know the name, but I haven't seen the comic.
So this was put out by Distillery some time ago, and only one issue has come out. But I got it because I was really interested in it, and I was going to wait for the trade collection. Well, it hasn't come out yet because they haven't put out the rest of the series. But I read it, and it's very much I'll just say a Victorian noir. But the masked character in it resembles more, shall we say, Batman.
Right.
In a way. And I'm thinking, that's interesting. He's kind of blending a little bit of superhero, a little bit of gothic mystery. And I like that. I like when people blend and play around with the genres, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, is it superhero? Not really, but kind of, yeah. So, and I guess maybe superheroes, your typical superhero, you think of this person who wears tights and a mask, probably has some powers and goes out and fights the good fight, right?
Right.
But it's not just that. So it's yeah. I prefer not to define these genres too closely or too specifically.
Right. But when you're making a list.
I know.
And it's supposed to be published.
So let's talk about how you approached your list. So everybody that was involved had to come up with a list of 100.
Ranked.
Yeah. 1 through 100, your list. So talk a little bit generally about how you approached making this list.
Well, at first I just wrote down anything I thought I might vote for on the list. And I briefly thought, I should go read more Golden Age comics and stuff. But Colin said, just make it a personal list and we'll sort it out. So I think that the final published list probably slants towards the 80s most of all.
It does.
Because most of the people are of an age where they were very familiar with the 80s. And, there was one person who was a big Golden Age reader. But the rest of us, I think, knew very little. So for the Golden Age, I think I just voted for Plastic Man because I knew that was good. Then there was a lot of, I decided not to include the Spirit as a superhero, even though he wears a mask.
Right.
And lives in an underground lair. But I think other than that, he's just a foil for sort of crime and noir and kind of stories of the city. I don't think he as a superhero plays any role other than that he kind of looks like a superhero because he wears a mask. But,
yeah. I would agree with that, by the way.
Yeah. I think I just got off track of whatever we were just talking about. But so I wrote up a big master list and then I struggled with ordering things. How many shifted my ordering around.
Did you just come up with 100 or did you have more than 100?
I had more than 100.
Oh, okay.
At first I had less than 100. And then the candidates near the bottom of the list, 80 through 100, there were so many things I could have thrown in there, because I have liked a lot of stories over the years, but whether, do I officially call them the best, it becomes hard. So I think I was trying to think in terms of superhero pleasure. So I put, for instance, All-Star Superman in at number 1. I don't think it's a better comic book than Watchmen, where did I put that? I can't find it. I think at number 11. But I felt like I got more superhero bang for the buck from Grant Morrison's All-Star Superman, and I just love that presentation of Superman. And Superman's the pure superhero, right? If you're going to define superheroes, it starts with Superman. Mm-hmm. So my thoughts were in terms of what was the most important in terms of superheroes, not in terms of comic books.
Yes.
So
okay. So
that gave me clarity for like the first 40 things I put on here, ones that I felt most embodied what I think makes superheroes great.
So it was it couched in that what you found more enjoyable or what you thought of in like the platonic sense of what is
my enjoyment of the platonic superhero.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yes.
Because I do love superheroes. So what embodies my love of superheroes? I still put Watchmen pretty high, even though it's kind of negative about superheroes, because it has a lot of fun of superheroes too, because of all the different characters with their different powers and their different backgrounds and, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And it's done so well and drawn so beautifully. Art was as much important to me as writing.
So, of course, I decided to do the exercise myself.
Yes. Right. You have your list written down in your notebook.
And that's why I wanted to ask you about your approach, because, I did the same thing. I just wrote out a bunch of titles, but quite honestly, when I got to around 25, 30, then I had to start thinking about that. And it wasn't just the ones that I enjoyed the most or whatever, or for whatever reason I enjoyed it. I started thinking about the importance of the particular run or the issue or whatever. And as I got even further, and quite honestly, I didn't even finish my 100. I got to about, I think it was like 85, something like that. And I just stopped because I was finding myself putting down things that I know are considered I'll put this
important.
In quotes, important, but in the canon of comics.
Right.
And I'm like, should I do that? Is that fair? And then I was like, I know that some books are considered by fandom to be really great, but I've not read them. So should I put them on the list, even though I know my fellows, over the years, the decades have said, this is a great comic book? And I struggled like you. It's like, I'm not familiar with a lot of Golden Age and Silver Age stuff for that matter.
Right. But I know it's important.
Exactly. And then there's things like, A Contract for God. Eisner's A Contract for Contract with God. Oh boy. See now.
If you'd read that, you'd know it's not superhero at all.
No, not right. But I'm thinking in terms of the importance of something, right? Great. Exactly. Great comics, whatever that means. And so I was thinking about that. Great superhero comics. Well, I struggled with it.
Yeah.
Did you?
I did struggle with it. I did have an editor, Colin, who told me you should have. It has to be something you've read and something you loved.
Okay.
So it's supposed to be personal. Like if I were working for a professional magazine or newspaper, as I used to do, but not about comics usually, if I were asked to do a list for that, I would probably be thinking, what is canon? What, that I'm contributing to what the canon is. But Colin, in his mind, and I don't know if everyone followed it that way, but was supposed to be a personal list. In fact, I think he was a little shocked that despite it being a personal list, the top 10 or 20 were very on the nose, what you would think, a group of critics might pick.
Yes.
Watchmen was number one. There was a lot of Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko. You have the magazine in front of you, and I don't at the moment, unfortunately. But so then it got a little more quirky as it went on later. And there were things in there that I'd never read, so it's kind of interesting to me. I'll have to catch up on a few of them.
So with those criteria in place,
yes,
I probably would have to take off another 10 to 20 books that I put on my list. And, I'd also just kind of struggle generally because, I've been reading for almost 5 decades now. Right. And I can't remember everything that I've loved over the years. It's like,
I definitely had moments of like, is that as good as I remember it?
Exactly.
It might not be, but I'm putting it on the list anyway because I don't have the time to read more than 100 long comic book series to do this list.
But I had to go through my comic list. I pulled up my database of comics and just kind of scrolled through them and going, oh yeah, I really like that one. Oh, I like that one. But they didn't immediately spring to mind.
Right.
And so, I felt like, in a sense, was I cheating in having to consult because they weren't coming to mind? But I was okay with that because my memory's so bad on things.
Yeah.
Did you have to do any kind of research?
I looked through my Marvel and DC app. Those apps, you can kind of order things by time and look through them. I flipped through my short boxes and what else did I do? I probably looked at other lists that existed online, not to copy them, but just to see if there's anything in there that I liked that I'd forgotten about. So, yeah, it was kind of hard. It was kind of hard after a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
It felt like work. I thought it would just be fun.
I mean, it's one thing to come up with your top 10, but a top 100, that's certainly,
Right.
You mentioned earlier, consulting other people's lists. And if you were writing an article for a comic book magazine, you might think of those things that are, again, in the canon of superhero books, right? And so that's one of the things I wanted to talk about with you is because is this also?
Well, I would think
Colin?
you'd have to put in some. If I were trying to find a canon, some portion of the Golden Age Superman and Batman, for instance, and Wonder Woman.
Yeah,
but I haven't read enough of those to say, and it feels cheating to say the entirety of the Golden Age Superman.
Yeah. Having read some of the facsimiles that the big two are putting out these days,
Right.
I guess to be fair, I've only been getting the DC ones for the older comics.
Right.
Having read now some Golden Age and Silver Age Batman books, they're horrible.
A lot of them seem that way. Yeah.
I read these. I'm like, why did DC decide to print these? Because they're not good. They're not good stories.
Well, here's another problem. The context is so important. So if you were a young kid in 1940, you might now look back on those and say, yes, they're crapping away, but there's something brilliant here. But since you started with sophisticated comics of 1980 and then go back 40 years, when superhero comics were just been invented, and most of the people producing them were 18 or 19 anyway, or maybe a little, between 17 and 25. And you're now 50 while you're reading them, let's say, it just has a different context.
Yeah.
So I find that certain things seem great to me that I know these guys who are a little younger than me, because I'm 64. So I started reading comics in 71, and they might have started reading them in 79. And then when they went back to them, but I can't resist but say that Roy Thomas's early run on the Avengers is brilliant, because my first comic book was Avengers 93, written by Roy Thomas and drawn by Neil Adams. And to me, that was so brilliant. But it was the context of I had never read a superhero comic before. Mm-hmm. And I hadn't even read much science fiction yet. And it had the Skrulls and space travel and an android who you could shrink down, like Ant-Man shrinks down and goes inside the android's body. I mean, these concepts blew my mind at the time. And I still appreciate that there was so much incredibly cool stuff in these comics. So I can't not say that was a great comic. But it may appear completely different to someone, after 50 years or 30 years of reading comics who then reads it.
Yeah. Well, since you bring that up, and by the way, you started with Neil Adams?
I started with Neil Adams.
Holy crap.
And it was like a 38-page story, because it was that one issue they did in 25 centers. Yeah, it was an incredible issue. Even if you read the entirety of the Kree-Skrull War, and it's kind of a lame event. It's one of the first events, but it just kind of flops around like a fish after a while. I think because of changing artists and the Marvel style of plotting, so they didn't really know where they were going ahead of time. Mm-hmm. Although it's still sometimes in the canon, right? The Kree-Skrull War.
Yeah.
But I only read that one issue at the time.
Well, so similar.
So in the end, I decided, I think somewhere on my personal list, to say the Roy Thomas era of those Avengers, because there's a lot of other good issues in the mix. There's some bad issues in the mix too. Mm-hmm. But for the purposes of this list, it would have been weird to put down, okay, issues 78, 82, 93, that kind of thing.
Well, and I struggle with that too in my list, for individual issues or individual stories, because one of the individual stories springing to mind that's on this list, and it's also on my list, is that Superman annual that Alan Moore did,
right?
For The Man Who Has Everything, or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So I was thinking about the single issues that may have had a huge impact on me.
Yes,
and of course, much like you with Avengers 93, one of my first comic books that I ever read was Marvel Tales 90 something.
And was it The Death of Gwen Stacy?
But it was the reprint of Amazing Spider-Man 121, which is The Death of Gwen Stacy.
So you read a classic issue as your first issue too. It helps a lot to do that, doesn't it?
Oh, yes.
Had incredible art and an emotional, wrenching story.
Okay, so let's keep talking about this. The whole idea of the canon and whatnot. So in here, under the Some Thoughts on Superhero Canonization, this is the second article here in by Colin. He mentions Chris Russ, one of the editors of this issue, said this: "I think that the mainstream of comics oddly has a pretty effective instinct that drives it to create an established canon. it's a very narrow range of comics that they are pulling from, Marvel, DC, Image mostly.
Right.
But there is at least a constant desire to establish and discuss essential superhero/genre comics in a way that I kind of wish art, literary, alternative comics had. And while I agree definitely with that last sentiment, I was really curious what you think about this. And that's what also kind of sparked my desire to talk to you about this stuff. Is like, we seem to have this desire to rank things, just as human beings. But I think especially with comic book fans, we cannot, have a conversation without ranking something, whether this comic is good or bad versus this comic or this artist or this writer. And we have our own top 10 lists that we throw in. You read listicles all the time online about the best comics or the best Marvel, the best Stan Lee, the best Jack Kirby, all that. It's everywhere in our sphere of the comic book sphere, right? So, do you agree with Chris's point here? Or
kind of a two-part question. I think Chris is right on that in particular superhero comics do these lists or even just have discussions about what is the best. And there's a lot of group thinking. We come from separate places, but we all agree certain things are really great, right? Or not all, but a lot of us. So like you and I both agree that George Perez and Marv Wolfman's Teen Titans is, one of the best superhero comics ever.
Right.
But we read them years of, whenever we read them, we were not anywhere near each other. In fact, I didn't know any other comic book fans when I read them. You know what I'm saying? But I came to the same conclusions. And I think it's a result of that intensity of how successful a genre superheroes are. That because for those of us who are hooked by superheroes, that there's so many interesting things going on, there's a lot to compare, and there's so much produced, but you pretty quickly become sort of sophisticated about superheroes, and you start seeing which books are way better than the others.
Yeah. Without even though reading a huge breadth of comics,
right? It
seems like, right? Because I certainly didn't when I was younger, because I could only afford 1 or 2 issues a month for a while.
Right. But I pretty early on started like noticing which artists are better or even which writers. That was a little trickier, but especially when I'm reading a lot of Marvel and it was the Marvel method. So if John Buscema was the penciler, this whole story would be paced better than if, I don't know, I don't want to be cruel to pick somebody else. Person, some newer, less experienced artist. And, I remember noticing, I keep coming back to George Perez, but I remember noticing early issues by George Perez where he's nothing compared to what he is later, but still sort of noticing there's something special going on here. Maybe it's the combination of it being comics, with that art and that kind of je ne sais quoi magic of the art and writing, and the fact that it's this narrow genre. And maybe it's a narrow genre that you can do so much with makes you start ranking things. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, my own reviews, when I review weekly comics, I do them in a countdown. I order them. It helps you think about things, and it forces order on things, or chaos into order. And maybe there's something that we like about that, even though I always say that it's very subjective when I do it. And I might, if it was another day, I might order the comics differently, but it's still a useful way of thinking about it. And I think Colin naming his other zine Canon, he is obsessed by that idea. But I think it's because it helps stimulate thought about it. He likes to be intellectual about it, critical about it.
Well, and
it helps you frame your thoughts, even if it's not accurate in the end.
Well, that's really the heart of it, is what I'm trying to get at. And there's no right answer here, of course.
Yeah.
But as I was thinking about the rankings in the magazine, the stuff that you wrote about those books, what I was thinking about my list and what is the best and superhero and all that stuff, it really, ultimately, it doesn't matter because it's very personal.
Right.
And no one's going to agree, although we seem to agree that Watchmen is Generally, like the top in the
Right.
top 5, I'll just say, if
Yeah.
not the top, right? But you know, I think I agree with you. It's that maybe that's not fair for Watchmen to be there.
But that's personal, and I'm fine that it ended up number 1 on
Yeah.
this list made by 11 people.
Yeah.
But
So that's
only I think only one person actually put it at number 1 on their list, or maybe 2. I'm trying to remember what Colin said to me.
But it was enough people.
But
in
enough
the top,
people ranked it high that when
Yeah.
you did the math, it
came in.
clearly
Yeah.
number 1.
That's interesting.
And I think number 2 is Kirby Lee Fantastic Four.
I believe so. Let me look here real quick.
So
Yes. Yeah. And we'll get into the like the top. I'll list the top 10 here in a bit. But the one more thing that Colin wrote in this article. As a result, the superhero canon that formed was an oral one. You heard or read about great comics from the past, and you hoped that someday you'd be able to read them. In the meantime, a lot of opinions from older readers become accepted wisdom. And I can't argue with that. I mean, when I started reading comics, I didn't know anybody who read comics.
Right.
It would be it was within a year of me starting to read comics that I found still one of my best friends to this day, Greg.
Yeah.
Who also read comics, but he was into other comics than I was.
I see.
Right. And then, so we would trade and read each other's comics. And I'm trying to remember back then, how did we discover that this title or this creator was great? Whatever that means.
Yeah.
And I have no recollection of consciously thinking of those things in that way, but somehow through osmosis of some kind, it entered into my consciousness that Jack Kirby was considered great. I didn't like him back then.
Interesting.
But I knew that he was considered to be great by others. And it was only decades later when I actually sat down and started reading Kirby comics. I'm like, you're an idiot. How did you should not have ever thought that he was not great. But yeah, it's that social aspect of comic books that I think goes, because you start out very personal. Oh, I love this thing. I love this title. I love this character. You may even know the creators involved. You start following them, but it's when you start talking to other people or interacting with them in some fashion,
right,
where suddenly the world of comics becomes much larger. And you get exposed to whether it's seeing stuff on the comic book shelves at your local comic shop. Eventually, because I came up, you came up into the world of local comic shops and back issues and things that were the direct market and all that kind of stuff. And so then we had access, depending on where you were, even in my little town of 40,000 then, we had a comic shop. 2, in fact, in the area, which to me, was now looking back on it, going, I had an embarrassment of riches when I was a kid to have access to these places. And it's like opened up my world of comics, right? And as I've gotten older, that's only increased. And through publications, later the websites, podcasts, YouTube, all that stuff is like, we are living in a golden age, so to speak, of information about our favorite things, comic books.
And a golden age of all of it being reprinted.
That too, exactly.
It does go out of print, but it is all being reprinted in a way that was unimaginable in 1980. Right?
Exactly. Like you saw in my library there, I've got all this Jack Kirby's DC work reprinted. Mm-hmm. And that's how I'm able to enjoy this now. Right. So yeah, it's been great.
Yeah. Well, on the subject that you were saying, I find it fascinating and impressive that this canonization, for lack of a better word, arises out of just a group of readers. There's no college professors or officials of some kind telling us what to think. But we all come together as some kind of group mind without even knowing it. And somehow, even before we meet each other, starting to make this kind of sorting of what's good. And it makes it fun to talk to each other about it. I worry, this is a fanzine list, but I worry if there was like a official Journal of Comics Art making a list like this, and then professors at different universities all drawing upon that list in classes about things, that it would lose something. I love that it just comes naturally from readers.
I would say, though, there are colleges, universities that
Yes.
have a comic arts program of some sort, and they do teach this stuff.
Right. And probably if I was more attuned to what colleges are doing, I'm guessing there is a small canon that these classes would draw from.
Yeah.
I'm guessing Mouse and
Yep.
Watchmen and probably that, what's it called? The one about the Iranian girl.
Persepolis?
Persepolis.
Yeah.
I see that sort of in the mainstream kind of world when they talk about comics.
Yeah.
Those all come up.
So I mean, that has entered the conversation, I'll
Right.
say, right? But I totally...
But I don't like that. I mean, you're more academic oriented than me. But
But I totally agree with you, though, that, and I think that's the point of what or the point that
Yeah.
Colin's trying to make here, or Chris, either way, is that, it just kind of happens within our, like, again, that our sphere of comic
Right.
books. And what other medium does that?
Well, science fiction had that kind of fandom. In fact, comic book fanzines arose out of science fiction fanzines.
That is true. You're right.
And I think as science fiction became more respectable and is taught in more universities, that has removed a little bit of the fandom still out there, but of the power of the insignificance of fandom. So I love fanzines, and I love YouTube and podcasts of just average comic book Joes talking about what they like. That's just my personal prejudice. So I think that makes it very exciting. And if it ever became really codified and it was like Shakespeare and that kind of stuff, I would be less interested in these discussions.
I could see why you say that, but I like the idea of taking the work and having it scrutinized at an academic level. One, it helps legitimize it. And two, it exposes people to it that normally wouldn't be exposed to comics.
Right.
But are still pursuing some degrees, at their school.
Well, so I'm just prejudiced against academics. And it's totally edible. My dad was a college professor.
Oh.
Not of English, but he was still a college professor. So I just love the organic fandom.
Mm-hmm.
And in science fiction, at some point when it was getting a little more respectable, there was some kind of motto. I'm probably going to get it wrong, but like, let's get science fiction back in the gutter where it belongs. There are biases in the academic world too. There's fashion in what is academically correct.
That's true.
So like in science fiction, they now really emphasize, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but they really emphasize science fiction from minorities or non-white American authors. So I feel like there's potentially throwing the baby out with the bathwater. But you had a great experience in grad school, so I don't mean to entirely put down all.
No. That's fine. Again, I just love the way you put it. How organic it was. But you just said put science fiction back in the gutter.
Uh-huh.
Do you feel like comic books though are still kind of that gutter medium even today?
Yes, and I read more comics than science fiction now. It used to be more 50-50 in prose science fiction. 50-50 in my life, or maybe even during certain periods more leaning into the prose science fiction than comics. I think it's still mostly organic. Like the indie comics we read are written by people who just love comics and want to write comics. They're not, most of them, aiming to please some elite or something to get officially called literature or something like that. But there are a small number of comics that perhaps are doing that, but they don't appear in the comic book stores, for better or worse. I mean, some of them might actually be good, but
okay. So let's talk about the actual lists here.
yes.
So the 100 best superhero comics of all time, according to Die With Your Mask On, and the elite 11-member panel.
Oh, you're jealous now. You haven't been invited.
It's probably a good thing I wasn't involved in this because I probably wouldn't have been able to finish it. But okay, so number one, we already mentioned, was Watchmen. Number two, Fantastic Four by Jack Kirby and Stan Lee, which is what, the first 50?
No, it's the first 102
100.
issues.
Oh, 102. Okay.
So I tried to, I put 3 or 4 entries for different segments of it, which was a mistake on my part. I kind of wasted my entries because I felt like the Galactus trilogy I put as a separate thing and that kind of thing.
I can see why you would do that, though. I mean,
yeah, and I've kind of, in my own mind, decided that issues I think it's starting with issue 35 through 60 is like the sweet spot of the very best of the Fantastic Four.
Okay. See, and I've read very little of that.
I've read the entire run a couple times. So I feel more confident.
The Stanley
Kirby run,
okay.
Yeah.
Number 3, The Dark Knight Returns. Number 4, Batman Year One. 2 Frank Miller written
in a row,
books, and 2 Batman books in a row.
Yeah.
Number 5, The Amazing Spider-Man by Ditko and Lee. Oh, it's interesting. They put the artist before the writer on these.
I think that's a slight to Stan Lee on purpose.
I can see that because the other things are writer and then artist.
Yeah, I think the general consensus amongst not everyone, but a lot of people think that the plotting was done by Ditko and Kirby, so Stan Lee doesn't deserve a full writing credit.
No, I kind of agree with that. Number 6, All-Star Superman. 7 was Uncanny X-Men by Claremont, Byrne, and Austin. Fourth World by Kirby.
That's very broad.
It is that's several books.
Right. 4 or 5, I think.
Number 9 is Miracle Man.
Which was Alan Moore again.
Alan Moore again, yes. And then number 10, Daredevil by Miller and Jansen.
And that's kind of broad.
Yeah.
I think on my own list, I specified the first Daredevil run that Miller did, which for me is a context kind of thing because I felt like Miller was breaking new ground every issue. And then later he came back and did Daredevil at least 2 other times. But anyway, it's fair to put it all together, I guess.
All right. So
what do you think about those?
This is the problem of my lack of knowledge, right? Because I've not read Fantastic Four, but I know it's considered to be a classic.
Have you read the Galactus trilogy?
Yes.
So you've read bits and pieces
of Kirby and Lee's stuff, but not a lot of it. Not enough for me to confidently say, yes, that should be number 2 on this list, for example.
Right.
And I certainly didn't put it on my list.
So if Colin knew you and had recruited you for this, he would have said, fine, just put the ones that you know.
Yeah.
And just let the chips fall where they may, because it divided between 11 people, you get enough scoring that it kind of works out.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Dark Knight Returns. Yeah, I can see why that's on the list.
I don't think I voted for that one.
Oh, really?
Or either that or I put it way up on the list.
Batman Year One. Yes. I mean, that completely changed.
That was number 2 on my list.
Really?
Yeah.
So All-Star Superman, number 1.
Right. So my favorite Superman and my favorite Batman.
Okay.
Because those are the prototypical superheroes. And I feel like Batman Year One nailed Batman the very best.
Yep.
Much better in my mind than The Dark Knight Returns.
Agreed.
Which is an interesting comic, but doesn't nail Batman in my mind.
Amazing Spider-Man, that's another one. I've read even less of compared to Fantastic Four of Amazing Spider-Man of that time. All-Star Superman, completely agree with it. I mean, that's the definitive Superman story as far as I'm concerned. Uncanny X-Men, again, I have this DC bias because even though I started reading comics from Marvel, mostly in the early 80s, I switched to DC and pretty much ignored Marvel.
Right.
With a caveat, because some of my friends, Greg, Travis, they were reading Marvel books. And so I would read their Marvel comics, but I didn't keep them. I didn't buy them myself.
Right.
And so while I read some of them, it didn't stick in my head because I didn't have them. It's that possession aspect of comic book reading where I remember a book that I read, 40 some years ago because it's in my box and I may have flipped through it or reread it, multiple times over the years. And so it kind of sticks in my brain. Whereas those books came and went. So I can't really say anything about the Marvel books.
And I put Uncanny X-Men on my list at number 21. And I wrote Claremont Byrne. But I think in my head, I was a little unsure. Like, I remember also really loving some issues when Dave Cockrum came back after Byrne left, and really loving some issues drawn by Paul Smith.
Oh, yes.
So I felt like the Claremont Byrne was just the shorthand. And I haven't read every single Claremont X-Men book
Yeah.
I almost want to just say, let's just say Claremont X-Men, because he worked with multiple artists and there were high points with many of them. But anyway, so I maybe gave in to the consensus thinking there.
I find it interesting that Fourth World is number 8 on here, because even though I'm now very interested in Kirby at DC especially, I've not read a lot of it.
Yeah.
But my impression of Kirby's Fourth World stuff was, it was okay.
It's very uneven.
Okay.
In my opinion. Like, especially if you're including, like, in my opinion, the New Gods is the best, then Mr. Miracle. And I would really tell people you don't even need to read the Forever People and the Jimmy Olsen part of it.
Yeah. That's been my impression over the years too.
And they now publish them in order. So you read an issue of Jimmy Olsen, then the Forever People, then the New God. And I think that's actually a bad way to read it. So I actually put down just New Gods, but they probably had to make the editorial judgment, and they probably added that to the whole Fourth World thing. But so I feel like a reader who doesn't know anything and has the whole blob of the Fourth World thrown at them might find it kind of weird and incoherent. But if you just read the New Gods, I mean, there's problems with it, but there's also brilliance with it. If you just read the New Gods first, you'd get a sort of building up of a world and you don't need the other books. Anyway, that's my editorial opinion.
Miracle Man, that certainly was a huge book. That may have been the first indie comic that I got from issue 1.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I completely love it. I think it's a great series at first. I felt like it was kind of uneven as it went along.
Yeah, I think of it as a great comic, but I don't think of it as in the top personally. I think I put it at like number 37 or something.
And then finally Daredevil. I mean, again, it's the same thing because it's Marvel. I've not read a lot of the early Daredevil stuff.
The early Frank Miller.
Early Miller Daredevil stuff. So I have it. I just haven't read it all.
Well, so, I mean, if you were involved in this list, some of the things you read, probably there were people who didn't vote for all 10 of those. You know, it didn't require everybody. Like I said, I don't know if I voted for the Dark Knight Returns at all. I don't think I did.
So give me your top 10.
So, and then will you give me yours?
Yes.
Okay. So I put All-Star Superman at number 1 by Morrison and Quitely. Batman Year One at number 2. Galactus Trilogy by Kirby and Lee at number 3. So that's kind of my headcanon. You got Superman and Batman as the originators of the genre. And then the greatest comic of the Silver Age would be, in my opinion, the Fantastic Four, which is the Kirby and Lee. So I put what I thought was the best Kirby and Lee, which was the Galactus Trilogy. And then I put New Gods, because by just Jack Kirby's 1 through 11 New Gods, because I think that, you know, actually, now I'm wondering if I could dismiss that as not superheroes. It's more a mythology that Jack Kirby's creating.
Yeah, but it's candy wrapped in superhero.
Yeah, it's definitely wrapped in superhero. Everyone looks like a superhero in it, and supervillains.
But yeah, going back to your original premise that you talked about. Yeah.
Right. That's what I mean.
You could do that.
Is it in a gray area? But anyway, I love it so much that I didn't, and it is wrapped as superheroes. And also in the future, it was integrated into the superhero universe, right?
Right.
At the time when he wrote it, it was his own separate little world. I just think that's issue by issue. There's just so much brilliant work done in it when not watered down by Jimmy Olsen. And then I put Daredevil by Frank Miller and Klaus Janson, because I actually put down the exact issues, 168 through 191. Another danger with people like Frank Miller omnibuses might start with the issues that he just drew and were written by Roger Mackenzie. Who remembers Roger Mackenzie? That those issues don't count. And that's sort of my problem with some things when you give a whole run, that someone who doesn't know the lore will go in and read the first few issues of Fantastic Four and say, this is the greatest superhero run ever done. It's good. It's good for its time, but it really picks up steam by issue 30, 35.
Yeah.
So anyway, then I put down Plastic Man by the Golden Age Plastic Man by, I can't remember his first name, Cole. Anyway, I think that was very, in my limited knowledge of superheroes, that was one of the first superhero comics that was innovative, that went outside the box, the little box of superheroes at the time. And so I think of that as really important. And then
Wait, so what's your experience reading Plastic Man, though?
I don't know if I've read every issue of the Golden Age Plastic Man, but I do have a number of hardbacks collecting.
Oh, okay.
And I've read it also digitally here and there. And back in my youth, it was something they reprinted in those DC 100-page specials and that kind of thing. So I've been familiar with it all, with those early issues all my childhood.
Okay.
And I think the earliest books that they put out about comic books, like All in Color for a Dime, or I forget the other one. In one of those books, there was a whole feature that I read as a kid, whole feature article on Plastic Man. So that might be the first one that I knew that other people thought highly of at the time I was reading it. And then I put down a personal favorite, Nexus by Barron and Rude.
Something I have not read ever.
Right. Whereas when I first found a comic book store when I was in college, that was just coming out. So I read it starting with issue 1 when it looked like a fanzine. It was in black and white. The art wasn't up to where Steve Rude became later. But in the first 3 black and white issues, it lays out this brilliant sort of science fiction superhero concept that no one had done before, as far as I know. And then I put, because again, to me, it's a favorite superhero-y kind of reinvention, Tom Strong by Alan Moore. Have you read that?
I've read very little of Tom Strong. Yeah. Although I read his other, like Promethea, Top 10.
Top 10, yeah.
Was that
there was another one.
Yeah.
And there was League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, but I think there was yet another one in there.
But Tom Strong is definitely the one that I think I read the first trade collection of that and I haven't continued on.
Tom Strong was Alan Moore trying to connect the old pulp culture to a superhero. And it was slightly tongue-in-cheek and very purposefully non-cynical. And most issues are standalone and have a little science fiction puzzle in them. Like where he gets sent back in time and is trying to figure out what this giant amoeba is up to or something like that.
That sounds like fun.
So it's right up my alley. And then number 9, I put Planetary, which actually, again, is in a gray area.
Yeah. The
characters are super powered, but they certainly don't behave like normal superheroes. So I guess, my purity, I claim to be all pure about what is superheroes, but so that was another one that was kind of groundbreaking to me. So a lot of these in my mind involve different steps in the evolution of superheroes, I suppose. So maybe I do have my critical framework that I wasn't even thinking about. And then my number 10 is the Neil Adams era of Batman and Detective Comics, where he and Denny O'Neil sort of redefined Batman or brought him back. They say just bring him back, but when you look at the old Batman stories, they're nothing compared to the Neil Adams, Denny O'Neil stories in my mind. So, and I think that Batman ever since has been based on that version of Batman, the dark, gothic kind of living in a twisted world, but not a goofy clown twisted world, but kind of a disturbing twisted world where strange things are going on.
And then variations have been played with based on that.
Right.
Miller's look at Batman is
Yes.
still based on that.
Right. And Scott Snyder's Batman is still to some extent based on that and other Batmans we've seen.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Tom King's the least of those, but still, you could probably find the thread there.
I think so.
But I'm not saying the least good. I'm saying,
Right.
I know you love Tom King's Batman, and I just haven't read the whole of it. But he goes off, he does his own Tom King thing more than others, I think.
So on my top 10 list,
Yeah, I'm excited to hear it.
I realized that I didn't really put them in like a numerical order, but
Okay.
they're sort of that way. And then listen, and when you just mentioned Planetary, which I do have on my
Larger list.
list, I realized I think I should add that instead of this other one that I have. But I started it by just thinking, what are the comic books or comic book series? Actually, I'm looking at this, and most of these are half of these are like finite, like miniseries or whatever.
It's a good way to go. Really.
But which ones gave me the most enjoyment? And and when I look back on them, I go, yeah, these were great comic books. And so I don't know if that's the right approach, but my list starts off with New Teen Titans, Volume 1.
Great choice.
Volume 2 as well, until basically Perez leaves.
Yeah. I think Wolfman himself says he went on too long on that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Next up is Legion of Superheroes.
The whole thing?
No. Part of Volume 2 and Volume 3. Now that I've doing the Legion project with Peter, I've read nearly the entirety of Volume 3. So just that run, that Levitz, Giffen, and Lytle and LaRocque, those artists with Levitz during that time.
Because I haven't read it all as a shorthand, somewhere on my list I put the Great Darkness Saga.
Oh, yeah,
sort of representative.
And I thought of that doing that too. It's like, okay, what's the greatest stories within those runs? You know, Great Darkness Saga, I think, is probably the best Legion story.
Yeah.
Of all time. I don't know. The Terra story in New Teen Titans is probably the best one of that. I don't know.
Right.
So,
although the whole early part of the Teen Titans run, it was just so exciting to see what would happen issue by issue as it progressed.
Yes.
So with the Legion, I tried, but then gave up on trying to find what were my favorite Jim Shooter stories. Because I really liked the old fashioned Legion when Jim Shooter was doing it.
And I love some of those, you know, like the Fatal Five story where Feral Lad dies. That's in my top 5 of Legion stories.
Right. But I didn't feel like I could just say the Jim Shooter run on Legion, but maybe I should have. So anyway, I kind of gave up on that.
Watchmen was next.
So what number would that be? Or you don't have numbers?
Well, it's like third in my slot. So
okay.
Like I said, when I wrote these down, I was just going, okay, what are the ones that are springing to mind?
Right.
This came first, this came second, this came third. So Watchmen was next. I don't think we need to belabor Watchmen's point.
Yeah.
Marvel's.
Great choice.
And then Kingdom Come. And I would actually switch those around now that I'm thinking about it, because I love Kingdom Come more than Marvel's. But we're still talking Busick and Ross.
Right.
Not Busick on
Wade and Ross on one.
Busick
and Ross
Busick and Ross, yes.
And Wade and Busick seem to be writers that have some similar aesthetic, so it's interesting.
Yeah. Next up is JLA Avengers.
I've never read that.
Perez again.
Is that Busick?
I think it's Busick, yeah.
And that's gotten a lot of attention lately because they finally reprinted it, right?
They're going to, yeah.
Oh, they're going to. Okay.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to read it, but it's it doesn't get reprinted because of the copyright stuff.
Well, when Perez died, they issued a limited run,
limited edition.
Right. And at the time of this recording, they're soliciting a facsimile edition of issue 1. Astro City.
Love that.
Which you did a write-up on.
Yes.
In this.
Yeah. Astro City is one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah.
I put it at 16 on my list.
Okay. So we'll come back to that because, like I said, you wrote the write-up on it. Next up is Giant Days.
Never read that. Was that like a Boom?
Yes.
comic? I didn't know it was superhero.
Oh, you know what? It's not. I just put in my top 10 comics of all time. So, you know what?
What's at 11?
We'll put Planetary there.
Okay.
And then All-Star Superman. And then I had Dark Knight Returns, but I almost want to replace that with something else.
Year One?
Thank you. That's exactly it. Batman Year One. So
Dark Knight Returns is a very good comic. Just in my mind, less good as a superhero comic than Batman Year One.
I agree. Totally agree. So that's my mixed up top 10.
Well, that's a great list. And I love that you included the Titans and the Legion in your top stuff.
I mean, they loom so large in my mind, in my history of reading, and that I couldn't not put them at the top.
And they're so superhero-y.
Oh, very much so. Yeah,
each with a different flavor, even though they're both group books. But
yeah. In fact, there was a point. I think I said this on one of the Legion Project episodes where I was like, I think I like Legion more than Titans now. But when I did this list, I'm like, I can't not put Perez as number one, even though I made like the stories in Legion overall maybe a little better. I don't know. It could also be recency bias because Peter and I are going through those issues and discussing them at length. And so it's really bringing out the enjoyment of those stories, of the Legion itself, and made me go, oh my God, I really love this stuff so much.
It'd be fun to go by a decade or maybe a age, but we don't have a clear age anymore. I mean, to call everything from 1991 till now modern age is ridiculous. But
yeah, I don't like that either.
I think for now, in the modern times, it'd be interesting to do like your maybe top 50 of this century so far.
Oh, yeah.
And you and I aren't as hardcore superhero readers, but we do read superhero comics still. And we were talking a lot about how we both loved Dan Slott's Silver Surfer. And I really like The Immortal Hulk. I don't know.
Fantastic.
I didn't guess put it on my list. That's on the margin of superheroes, again, because they've turned it into more of a horror book than the Hulk. And it originally is part of the Marvel superhero universe. I'm now realizing I was just very fickle. Like I didn't put on Doctor Strange, but I did put on Silver Surfer. Just all these sort of fickle choices where I thought I was being really strict about what is a superhero.
So let's talk about the contributions you made to this. But what was the process for you get to write this?
At first, I was just told or asked to contribute a top 100 list. And then Colin said, if you want to write up something about your process of choosing, and I didn't do that. It seemed voluntary and I just procrastinated on it. And then he said, would you be willing to write some entries? So I was kind of busy or otherwise distracted, so I told him just 5 entries. So I didn't really do my share. I suppose if you divide 100 by 11, you don't come up with 5.
Yeah.
So other people had to do more, maybe Colin himself and his other co-editors. But so then he gave me a list of options, ones that hadn't already been taken. And he offered me he offered me All-Star Superman because that was my number one. And I think I learned in his discussions with other people that some people really hate Matt Fraction's Hawkeye. So maybe that's how I ended up with that.
What?
And Astro City, I think he knew I loved Astro City. I don't know. I can't remember what all the options he gave me were. So what did I write about? I wrote about the All-Star Superman, Fraction, and Aha's Hawkeye, Astro City. What else did I write about?
New Frontier?
Oh, New Frontier, which I love. And apparently some of his cohort hate that too, which blew my mind.
Wow.
And what was my 5th one?
Batman Stories by Neil Adams.
Oh, right.
And All-Star Superman.
Because I'm the Bronze Age guy in Colin's mind, so he gave me that. And I was happy to do that.
Yeah.
That was a little tricky to write about because I realized looking at it, at first Batman did the Brave and the Bold with Bob Haney as the writer. And I don't know if you're familiar with him.
Yes.
But his stories are just wacko.
Yeah.
And so I don't count those as part of what I was writing about. But if you bought a big hardback of Neil Adams' Batman, it would probably start with those Bizarro, Brave, and the Bold. But when Neil Adams and Denny O'Neil first teamed up, you get this dark, brooding, gothic story about these people who basically steal the youth from other people, and in the end, they fall into their graves. And so that sort of set a new tone for Batman, where there was this feeling of this dark, creepy world that had nothing to do with Bob Haney.
So 4 of these 5 are essentially half-page entries.
Right. Only the top 10 got full-page entries.
Right.
So All-Star Superman made it into the top 10, so it got a full-page entry. So those were, I can't remember now, were they like 600 to 800 words? And the other entries were 300 to 400 words.
Okay. So you knew that in advance, that
Yes.
you had to hit a certain word count to fit.
Right.
Okay.
Which did suck me back into my days as a freelance writer when you always had to hit word counts. And I think that caused me to procrastinate. Like since I stopped doing freelance writing a long time ago. And since I retired, I just don't like structure, because I had to always work with editorial structure when I was a freelance writer. But other than that, Colin didn't give any instructions. And I just thought in my mind that this would be like an encyclopedia entry, or not an encyclopedia entry, but an entry for someone who may have never even heard of Neil Adams' Batman.
Okay.
So I tried to write each one so that you would have an understanding of who they were, and then give a little more broader impressions.
Yes. And I appreciated that, because that was the sense I got from reading your entries. It's like,
Right.
Here's what this is about, and here's why it's important.
Yeah. And different people wrote different things. And some of the ones that were totally not like that, I actually enjoyed reading. But if you didn't know who the Fantastic Four were and who Jack Kirby and Stan Lee were, I don't know if the entry about Jack Lee and Stan Kirby's Fantastic Four would make as much sense to you. But assuming you do, it was brilliant. So anyway, it's different. That was by Chris Russ, who I thought his writing was really good, but he did not worry about that encyclopedia entry kind of approach.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's kind of the thing. I've not read all of the entries.
It is a fanzine after all.
I was going to say,
not a professional work.
It's just a fun entry, if you will, in ranking our favorite superhero stories.
Right. And it's fun to flip through and read an entry here, entry there. Like, wonder what they said about Enigma.
Exactly. Well,
a comic I've never read.
Boy, let me tell you, when I saw Enigma was on this list, I'm like, what? Because I did get that back in the day, and that was
one reviewer's number one pick.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's talk about that.
It didn't end up number one. He was disappointed it ended up near the back of the list, but what was he thinking that everyone would pick Enigma?
Yeah. So one of the things I like,
many people have not read it, right? It's relatively obscure.
I was going to say, I think it's relatively obscure, but I loved it. Let's see. So one of the things I like about this magazine as well is that there are statistics in the back. Again, ranking things, right? Numbers. I freaking love this stuff.
Like how many times various authors appeared on
exactly.
the list.
Creators with the most appearances. Alan Moore is number 1 with 13.
And I think that's well deserved.
Over Jack Kirby at 10.
That's interesting.
Yeah. See, when you start thinking of it that way, it's like, well, wait a minute.
But yeah. I mean, that's tricky. I think because, again, most of the people are readers of the 80s that was ruled by Alan Moore.
That is true.
But certainly, I would think of Kirby and Moore as the two sort of geniuses of the superhero comic book world.
Well, speaking of other geniuses or well-regarded creators, let's see. Steve Ditko had 4 appearances. Stan Lee 4. John Byrne 3. Sienkiewicz has 3. Claremont only 2.
I wonder what his other one was besides the X-Men.
John Romita Jr. is listed twice, but not John Romita Sr. Doesn't that seem like an oversight on the panelists' part?
Yeah, and I would, I don't know if I did, but I would want to list both Ditko and Romita, perhaps in separate runs on Spider-Man, because I really like the Romita Spider-Man.
George Perez is not
on there?
listed here.
Did the Teen Titans make the list?
I'm sorry. It says creators with the most appearances, but then there's another one that says artists.
Huh.
So the artists with the most appearances, Jack Kirby with 10 entries in this. Giffen with 5.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then Miller at 4, Ditko at 4, Sienkiewicz 3, John Byrne 2. Perez again is not. But I did read something in here about, I can't remember where it was, but Marv Wolfman and Perez were listed, I think, together twice in this. So appearances by decade, 1980s, 38.
Uh-huh.
The next closest is 1990s, 20. So again, we get back to that
age range.
Yeah, when what we think of as really great comics may have been when we were first exposed to them.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and then maybe when you first are exposed to like something new, like for me, there's the 70s and the 80s. Because I was a kid in the 70s. You were a kid in the 80s, but I was a kid in the 70s. And then I came back to comics at the beginning of the 80s.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was a pretty exciting time.
Interestingly, the 2020s, 0 entries.
Wow.
Yeah.
But they did put Silver Surfer Black on the list, which is not something I would have even thought of, but has great art, but I think it's a very minor comic.
I've not read that, but yeah, that definitely is not something I would spring to mind.
It was Donny Cates kind of setting up whatever his next thing would be, which was with this character Null or Null.
Right. Yeah.
It was the introduction of Null.
All right. I think the final thing I wanted to touch on in terms of, 2 things.
More stats?
Publisher breakdown. Yeah. Marvel and DC both had 35. So that's interesting.
That's good that they're equal.
Out.
Yeah. Because sometimes Marvel gets a bias.
Yeah. Independent had 30. And then each list maker's number 1 comic. I thought this was interesting. So the top, I'll just do so Watchmen is on here twice. Fantastic Four once. All-Star Superman. That was yours. Once. Superman, Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow. I mentioned that. League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Enigma. That was, like you said, number 1 on somebody's list. Who'd I skip? No, nothing. Ambush Bug.
Wow.
I mean, I like Ambush Bug, but I don't know. Number 1.
I've only read a little bit of it. I don't know how much Ambush Bug there is to read.
There really not that much. One Punch Man, which I've heard is a great series, but I've never read it.
I have read half of the first volume, and that should tell you my opinion of it. I didn't dislike it, but I felt like after reading 100 pages that I thought I knew everything I needed to know about One Punch Man. But anyway, different strokes. The art was really cool.
Then there are 2 entries in here that says they're unranked, which I'll have to go back and see if Colin says anything about that.
Huh.
Yeah.
What does it say?
The 2 were Mysterious Suspense, number 1, which is probably one of the Golden Age books.
So they were someone's number 1, but it didn't even make it.
I see what that means. Okay, yes, thank you. Yeah, and then Grand Electric Thought Power Mother.
Never heard of it.
So, yeah. Very interesting.
Even though he chose some people with some pretty radical taste, because of the point system, it still made the obvious top comics rise to the top.
Yeah.
Even if, 1 or 2 people had because the people who liked really obscure things didn't like the same obscure things to build up a big following for them.
I really enjoyed looking through this and seeing the rankings, and it's just fun to
it's fun that they have the little write-ups.
Yeah.
And
it really made me, well, one, kudos to you for writing all those entries, because I was thinking about, okay, if I had to do that, oh man, it would be tough. To get the essence of a book and why it's important in 300 to 400 words.
Yeah.
That'd be tough.
Well, we were talking about writing drafts. I couldn't do it in a first draft.
Yeah,
I had
of course,
to do
yeah.
a couple drafts,
Yeah.
or at least 3 drafts per thing. And it is the kind of thing you procrastinate on because it is hard to, like, how am I going to get to the essence of, say, Matt Fraction's Hawkeye? How do you describe that?
And if anybody is interested in knowing what Damian wrote about these specifically, you're going to have to go buy the magazine either at Floating World, if they still have it, or you can order it online.
Right.
Which is what I did.
Yeah, at Big Cartel, Canon Zine at Big Dark Cartel. You'll probably put a link.
I'll put a link in the show notes if anybody's really interested. Plus, you could probably find other magazines that Colin has published as well, which I'm going to go back and look at some of those.
He said that they're working on setting up a website where you can buy digital copies.
Oh, that's
so that'd be nice because the postage is expensive. Yeah. So the problem with amateur zines is just publishing them and mailing them is kind of expensive.
I was going to say, I'm so impressed that he did it this way because it is expensive. And this is good paper. This is good paper stock.
Right. And he told me his hope is to someday break even, but.
Oh, jeez. So. Yeah. Good luck with that, I think. But I well worth the $15 that I paid for a magazine, especially this. The cover, I didn't mention the cover. It's just all these different characters, superhero characters. There's even some Legion folks, some New Teen Titans. Your usuals, Batman, X-Men.
Right.
Is Superman on here?
Is Ambush Bug on there somewhere?
Oh, Superman's there. Ambush Bug. Yes, he is. So, and the cover was done by...
Yeah, for a zine, I thought that was a perfect kind of zine cover.
Yeah. Kevin Newburn. And in the very back, the inside back cover is a guide to all the characters. Just like you would see in Marvel and DC comics over the years. So I love that.
All the characters on the cover. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it tempts me to do my own zine.
I had the same thought.
I used to have an idea for a zine that would just be for the comic book YouTube community, and anyone was open to just contribute a few pages of anything they want. But then the community got so big, I wasn't sure if I wanted to do it. I'm going to look into this. But yeah, it just seems fun. It's a way to enjoy comics. Oh, when I was a kid, I used to order zines through the Comics Buyer's Guide. And I didn't save any of them, and it pains me now. And I just have vague memories of them. Some of them were, on blue Ditto pages and stuff. So there could only have been like 50 copies or something.
Yeah.
And I saw someone on a YouTube channel that looks at old zines flipping through a zine and saying, and there's a letter from Damian Kilby. And I'm like, what? I didn't even know. And I think, I wrote the letter probably in 1974 and the zine the next issue didn't publish till 1977. And I wasn't even paying attention by then.
That's great.
And I wanted to ask that person to send me a photograph of the page or something, because I don't even know what 12-year-old me wrote to that zine.
Do you remember what was the zine?
I think it was called Mantra.
Mantra. What was the zine about?
Don't remember.
Oh, okay.
I think it was just a general zine. I remember zines where they would like copy a panel of a comic, like they must have traced it and then written something different in the word balloons, and things where they had a con sketch from John Buscema and they would put it on the cover, and people would just write little articles. There was a couple zines that were mostly just letters where people argued back and forth, and I was fascinated by that. And that's what we now do on YouTube or on the internet. But yeah.
So I want to say, speaking of all this, you inspired me, because sometimes when we would go to I Like Comics or some other comic shops over the years that I came over here and visited with you, and now that I'm living here, we've gone to a few places. But you always are, and in your videos too, I think you show this stuff. You're always picking up these old comic book magazines. Mm-hmm. And so that inspired me, because I was like, I want to read some of that old stuff. that was out there.
Last time we were at I Like Comics, I think you were searching for something, but you couldn't remember the title of it. Did you finally figure out what it was?
So what I did is I more recently, and I'll show you after we get off the air here, because I did mention it when we were in there before, but I got a bunch of Amazing Heroes issues and the Comics Journal issues. So I have, I don't know, a stack of like half a foot.
Oh, sweet.
High.
Where did you find those?
mycomicshop.com.
Oh, okay.
I had some credit there, so I spent it on those magazines.
And the prices on those are probably relatively reasonable.
Relatively. There's one that I wanted that was a little more than I wanted to pay for.
I guess sometimes if they have something on the cover that collectors
want. What I did was I went and found a bunch of stuff that had to do with, or I searched for stuff that had to do with Perez or Giffen specifically. Mm-hmm. And then there was a few other, images, cover images that caught my eye or whatever, or I saw what the articles were about and I bought them.
Right.
So this idea of fanzines, comics journalism, like Tiffany Babb is doing, and everybody that's contributing to her book, her works. Mm-hmm. It's really cool. It's almost like a resurgence of this thing that used to be pretty pervasive in the 80s, early 80s, early to mid 80s.
I think, bubbling under from the 60s on.
Oh, of course. Yes.
Like trying to find, even though I couldn't remember their titles, old zines, I would go on eBay and there'd be all this stuff from the 60s, but people are charging like $100 a copy because they're such short print runs.
Yeah. Yeah. And also I got, speaking of a zine, the famous Legion of Superheroes zine, the Legion Outpost.
Right.
So I don't actually have any of those as originally published, but I bought the Tomorrow's book.
Oh, did Tomorrow's reprint
the best
them?
Of?
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So
I might go get that.
For some reason, I just recently, I was like, I'm finally going to do what I've been thinking about every time that I visit comic book shops with you. I'm going to get these damn magazines.
I'm a big fan of amateurism, I've realized. Especially, now that we're retired, you don't have to worry about making money from things. Just do what you love.
So when can we expect your zine? Whatever
I don't know. I need to think of a cool title. I guess it won't be Mantra. That's already taken. Or Die With Your Mask On's a really cool title. And I wonder if that comes from something.
I was wondering that myself.
I should ask Colin. I know he's obsessed with the Rick Veitch superhero story, so I wonder if it comes from that.
Okay.
It's real. Die With Your Mask On. I really like that.
Yeah.
Of course, they always come back. They never stay dead.
A nice callback. Never stay dead. In case people are listening to this for the first time and haven't listened to Damian on the show before, he used to do a podcast called Never Stay Dead with Matt.
With my buddy Matt and Wednesday Serial.
Yes. And you guys, you stopped doing it a while back.
All my fault. Matt's still angry at me about it. I got tired of the editing.
Yes.
And he said, well, we could do it unedited. But I was thinking, you haven't heard what we sound like unedited. Because we always recorded late at night when we were both sleepy.
Oh, yes. That is tough. Well, anyway, I thoroughly enjoyed your episodes, and I secretly wish, or maybe not so secretly, but I wish that you guys would bring it back.
And there's 2 episodes I never edited and posted even.
Oh, my God. Oh, dude.
I'm really bad.
You're denying us the pleasure.
There is someone who offers to edit people's podcasts that you have had ads of his on your podcast.
Stephen
or else.
Or else
yeah,
stuff.
so
yeah.
I should contact him and see.
Yeah, Stephen Orr is his name.
Right.
And yeah. He's really good. I listen to shows that he's
I enjoy his podcast too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's really good.
But I feel it's almost like letting someone in to organize your dirty laundry or something.
Yeah.
But maybe I should contact him and see how hard it would be for him to edit my old audio.
And then you could keep doing it and then just give it to him. But really, if you want a sounding board to talk about the zine opportunity thing,
sure,
let me know. I'd be glad to toss around ideas with you.
Well, and if it's the kind of zine I'm thinking of, open to anything, you can make something.
Yep.
Or maybe we
If
could
I-
publish one of your short stories.
Oh, geez. Nobody wants to read those.
Yes, they do. I do.
All right. Thank you so much for agreeing to come to my house.
Yes. Hey, that's
To record
exciting to
this?
be in the glamorous studio, the Longbox studio.
But yeah, like I said, this magazine just like ignited some sort of fire in my
Yes.
head. I'm like, oh, I got to talk to Damian about this. So I really appreciate that. As we normally do, why don't you tell the folks where they can find you on YouTube and
so-
what that's all about?
So on YouTube, I am Sleepy Reader 666, which is a reference to my name, Damian, not to any direct relationship with Satan. And then on Instagram is the other place these days where you can mostly find me, which is at Sleepy Reader 666 on Instagram. I am slightly on Blue Sky, but there's just not enough people I know on Blue Sky, so I mostly go to Instagram.
The Instagram algorithm is not showing me your posts enough, so I'm gonna have to
Wow.
tweak that.
Yeah, Instagram is getting worse in terms of all the ways they're playing with things and showing you things out of order. But it still seems it's where the most comic book people are. And I only follow comic book people there. So whatever else is going on Instagram, I avoid.
Yeah, that's same.
And it's easy to direct message people on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a lot of little conversations going on in the background, or that's sometimes where we set up doing live videos together and that sort of thing.
Yeah, you do that quite a bit with various folks. I've noticed, or have
Very rarely on my channel at the moment,
right,
but on other people's channels, and maybe more in the future on my channel.
Well, you are a well-regarded comic book historian. I mean, you're in a magazine, for God's sake.
Yes, a magazine is. Well, when I had a podcast, I got more respect from the average person than doing YouTube. Even though I had way more interaction and views on YouTube than listens on the podcast.
It's so strange, isn't it?
And a magazine probably has even more cachet.
Yes, exactly.
Even though it probably has an even smaller audience. I mean, I have no idea how many copies of Die With Your Mask On are out there.
Mm-hmm. Well, as always, I highly recommend people go check out Damian's channel because he talks about comics in a way that I'm very jealous of. And you not only talk about them, but you show them.
Right.
You turn
I try
that
to
camera
take
around.
advantage of the visual media.
Yeah. And that's a great way to see someone talking about the thing that you love in comics, and as opposed to listening to an audio only version of this on a podcast or podcast.
Well,
format.
if you have long commutes, you don't want to be watching a video while you.
Yeah.
So podcasts are great for a lot of purposes.
All right. Thank you, Damian. Again, I really appreciate this. And I really enjoyed our conversation.
It's been my pleasure.
All right, folks, if you have any feedback for me about this episode, or if you'd like to contact Damian, all the information will be in the show notes. But as always, you can email me at longboxreview@gmail.com. You can send voicemails or text me at 208-953-1841. Come on, light that number up, folks. I want to get some feedback from people. Or you could just contact or converse with me on social media at Longbox Review, which is mostly Blue Sky, but occasionally Instagram as well. And I think that's it. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So we are recording now.
Okay.
Let's see.
So just edit me if I say any really rude words like George Hanna or
Oh, that's going at the end.